All right, thanks for joining us again. This is Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Reliance School, and in part 2 of our lessons on fitness with Dr. Brian Jones, we're going to be talking about cardiorespiratory fitness. The inside of each of these pockets.
Waiting on word from city or state officials to see what's going on, what they can tell us, but
All right, Dr. Jones, I got some more questions for you. We're going to be discussing cardiorespiratory. First, what's anaerobic versus aerobic activity? Tell us what that is and how that should play out in our fitness needs.
Well, scientifically, anaerobically versus aerobic, or anaerobic versus aerobic just means with or without oxygen. So, from a practical standpoint, aerobic activity is activity that is lower intensity, so things that you can do for a long period of time, say walking for a long period of time, rucking, jogging, that sort of thing. You know, people get on the stair climber, the rowing machine. Those are the types of activities that you think of when you think of aerobic activity. Anaerobic is sprint type activity. So sprinting, 400 yards, 100 yards, going for basically a minute or under. I mean, that's just going to be a rough guideline. A minute or under, fighting with somebody, for instance, doing things, lifting heavy weights for a set number of reps, all those are anaerobic activities.
So you think for like emergency preparedness, which one would be best, or both of them just the same, aerobic or anaerobic?
Well, so there's a couple of different ways to look at this. From an overall perspective, aerobic fitness is associated with lower incidence of pretty much every disease we know of, okay? Mm-hmm. Heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure, just everything. So being active in general is going to lower your risk of activity. So, and you don't have to be marathon runner fit. People think that they have to be able to do some kind of a 10K in order to gain some fitness from this, but no. You can do walking every day will lower your risk of heart disease, and if you think about this from a survival or survivability or a preparedness standpoint, the last thing you want to do is just kill yourself because of your fitness level. So I would say a good goal is daily activity, first of all, for a lot of people, because a lot of people are just sedentary, and that alone is going to improve their fitness. Some kind of daily activity, walking. And then maybe for a short-term goal, getting up to being able to run a consistent mile at a decent pace, because you never know when you might have to run to safety or move, move quickly, for some time. Okay.
So that brings up another good question: is how, as far as anaerobic and aerobic activity, you're saying we should do that every day, every single day. And is there one type over the other we should be doing every day, or should we be doing both, anaerobic and aerobic?
Well, anaerobic activity, there's a lot of different ways to put this together. Anaerobic activity is going to be things like, and we're going to get into this in a later section on musculoskeletal specifically, but that does fall sort of under the anaerobic. But we're talking about sprinting, or maybe doing some grappling or boxing or something where your heart rate's up really, really high for a short period of time. So you need to have a certain amount of that. The intensity level that will dictate that you can only do it so many times a week. So you can do less of a high intensity stuff. You can do it for shorter periods of time and less often.
Okay.
So the recommendations from the American College of Sports Medicine is essentially going to be 15 to 30 minutes all or most days of the week for aerobic activity. And anaerobic activity, or vigorous activity, is going to be 2 to 3 days a week. Again, there's different recommendations, but...
what kind of things do we run into if we're doing that every day? Like you got a boxer, you got a martial artist, or you got somebody that's doing that type of activity every day. Is that bad for us?
Well, it all depends on the individual,
Mm-hmm.
and how hard you push yourself. You can get into a state of overtraining if you, it depends on your lifestyle. A lot of times, age, your nutrition, your stress level, your sleep, your lifestyle outside of the gym. Because people don't understand that you don't get fitter when you're training. Fitness, exercise is a stressor. Exercise breaks you down. The stuff in between is when you build it up for the next time. So
right.
If you leave out that portion of the equation, The stress versus rest is progress. If you take out the rest portion, you're just downward spiral, and you're going to get worse and worse.
I like that. I like how you said that. So, cool. So, as far as cardiorespiratory, what would you say is the #1 exercise somebody can do?
Well, it depends on the activity level, your physical limitations. If you're thinking about being mobile in a situation where you're having to move from point A to point B, rucking has obviously gotten a lot of, I mean, you know, the Nature Alliance School, you guys are outdoors all the time, so there's uphill, downhill. It's a mixture of anaerobic and aerobic. Okay, you should be climbing a little bit. So rucking, walking, jogging, if you don't have access to places.
Real quick, for those that are new to exercise, which a lot of folks are, tell us what rucking is.
Well, rucking is just moving, essentially hiking with a purpose, hiking kind of over land with a certain amount of weight on you. So a backpack, maybe, you know, a lot of people talk about bugging out, or 3-day packs, or you know, a disaster situation in your car, you get lost in the woods, you need to make it back to civilization. Well, that takes a lot of energy, and you need to be fit, and you're going to have to carry some equipment if you have it on you. So there's actually competitions for rucking, but essentially it's a certain amount of weight, whatever weight that you think you're going to be able to carry, you're going to need to carry if something happens. If you have a 3-day bag, you need to be able to carry that thing for however long it takes to get to wherever you need to be safe.
One of the things that I see a lot of people doing in these forums and prepper forums and Facebook pages is that I think a lot of people play off the idea that if they're fat, they're overweight. For example, like myself, I don't say that I do this, but say somebody's 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, they're like, I can utilize that, that's going to be fuel for me. I need that if in a prepping situation. I think that's crap. Would you speak to that?
Well, I mean, again, there's the idea that you have to be bodybuilder shredded in order to be fit, which I think is a myth. Okay, most people carrying around 10 or 15 extra pounds as a 200-pound man is not going to harm your health for the most part. Being like slightly overweight, you know, an athlete or a bodybuilder might judge you and say, "Ah, he's fat." Well, maybe not. I mean, it is calories. Now, there's obviously some end of the spectrum, okay, where you can't move anymore. You start to have joint issues. You've moved into a new BMI category where you're at risk for heart disease, because people that are extremely overweight don't have healthy lifestyles, or they wouldn't be that way. Mm-hmm. Okay, they don't eat the right things, they don't exercise, they don't do any of the stuff that we were talking about before. So I think it's kind of that is the thing that gets me is, yeah, they might be able to live off of it, but you know, I mean, what else are they doing to get ready for a disaster or to be healthy?
Right. All right, cool. So that's the next section of this. What we're going to do next is go into muscular endurance and muscular strength and power. So come on, join in. Let's learn together.